Well, I can't do art therapy with you today in a 10-minute session. What I can do is share with you a directive that can be used to help ground you and assist in boosting your mental well-being. So this particular directive is pertinent given the heightened levels of anxiety many of us are feeling during this pandemic and the uncertainty brought on. So today's directive can be done easily either at home or outside. And we'll be creating a mandala with some natural materials. A mandala is basically a found object, and they've been used throughout history in terms of many healing ceremonies. More recently, the father of psychoanalytical therapy discovered that mandalas really reflected his own internal emotional state. And it has become a tool for art therapists in helping people explore themselves and their identity. Today we'll be creating a mandala, as I said, with natural materials. So we're going to focus on your strengths, and that's something that's really important because strengths are often associated with increased well-being. And research indicates that as you live from your strengths, or your highest strengths particularly, which are often called your superpowers, the more you're in a state of flow. So the first thing I'll do is, you can use a piece of string to outline a mandala. You can cut that up and just create a circle. Or what I've done today is cut up some burlap pieces, or you can use a piece of paper. Then what you'll need to do is gather some natural materials, and that can be anything from seed pods to leaves to flowers. I've got some shells. I even cut up some beads today. Whatever it is that fancies you and that you're fascinated by. But what I'd ask you to do is, while you're collecting these materials, and while it might be over time or it might be just before you're going to create a mandala, is to really center yourself first and think about what brings you into a state of calm. And what are the shapes, the colors that attract you, that create that sense of calm. Think about it as you pick the pieces and as you collect them, and then you can gather yourself back at a table in a place that you feel safe and comfortable. So then what I'll do is ask you to take those natural materials and just create some sort of mandala that is reflective of the strength that you want to focus on. It might be a strength that you have, it might be one that you'd like to develop. So I'm going to do that now. And I won't be talking my way through this because it's hard to think about a strength and create a mandala. When you're creating these, what I will say is it's not so much about overthinking it, but just letting the natural material kind of speak to you in terms of what you feel is right. And while I look at that, I was just thinking, it's not finished yet, and it's not balanced. It wasn't balanced in terms of the color for me. I felt like it needed some green. All right, I think for me, that's done. So you take your time, whatever time that might be. It might be a couple minutes, it could be longer. And then what I'd ask you to do is when you finish is have a look at it and reflect on not only the strength that you were thinking about, but there might be a title that you'd like to give it. There might be something that came up as you were thinking about that strength. And the other interesting thing is you can take a photo of that and keep it for longer, because with these mandalas, once we finish, we put them back and they're gone. And sometimes that helps clients to really remember the impermanence of life and that things change and that you can't hold on to things forever. So when I look at that mandala, and while I was making it, I think, as I mentioned to you, I was thinking about the word balance and how I needed to have the colors balanced and the placement of them balanced. And that's really a strength that I think is important right now, for me in particular, and possibly for you as well. It's about how do we, through this period of time, look at achieving things, but also taking the rest we need, putting in some self-care practices, things that are going to help us to manage through some of the challenges ahead. So that's my mandala, and if I were to title it, I think I'd just keep it that same word, balanced. I like that. So if we were in an art therapy session, what I would do is engage the client in more discussion about that and think about when have they used that strength or when might they like to use that strength, so that it gets them prepared to thinking about that long past the art therapy session. They might even write a poem about it, or they could dialogue with it. There are really limitless possibilities in terms of how we use that particular art piece. I also might get the client to think about what did it feel like while they were making it? Did they feel a sense of balance? Is that something they've felt before? So using the actual art and the art process is something that really only happens in that dialogue that follows the art making. So I hope that gives you a little taste of what art therapy is and isn't, and as I said, a little directive prompt to get you started.